Hey everybody, happy Sunday morning. As usual, I'm going to do my life today and I'm going to break it into segments as we decided. So without further ado, I'm going to start talking about the week, and I'm going to start with my health tip for the week. And I know everywhere in the world there is stuff happening. There is Halloween, there's Diwali, there's going to be Christmas, there's going to be New Year's. And I feel like starting October all the way till the end of December, we all end up going out, eating a lot of sugar, eating a lot of sweet stuff. So the first thing that I want to address is, hey everybody, hey Richa, hey for craft's sake. So the first thing that I want to address today is the health tip of the week. And actually it's going to be the health tip for the next few months, is how are you going to brace yourself for the holidays. So I'm going to give you a few simple tips. One of them is, whenever possible, eat a heavier lunch, eat a lighter dinner. And I know everybody knows I was going to say that. However, if you have to go for dinners, which I know for us Indians with Diwali, and we have a lot of dinners. So if you have to go for dinner, and I would suggest eating a little bit, make a soup, eat something at home, and then go for dinner. And then when you do go for dinner, and this is what I always do, there's usually a big spread. If you've ever been to an Indian party, there's a lot of variety. But what I do is I eye one thing. Instead of eating a little bit of everything, I eye one food item, which I'm excited about. And I go eat, and it's usually an appetizer, right? Because I don't even wait till dinner. Dinner is served much later. And I go all out on that, right? So instead of giving my stomach, my gut, a variety of things to digest, which may or may not combine well together. And that's what often happens. It's the food combinations in these holidays, the food combinations in these parties, which really kind of damage your gut. So what I do is I identify what is really appealing to me. I get excited about it even before I consume it. I prepare my body that it's coming, and I spend 80 or 90% of my focus on that one item. I might taste everything else a little bit, but most of my appetite is filled by that one item. Then the next day, you don't want to wake up like nothing happened last night. You want to wake up like you ate the night before. So I would suggest in the morning, if you have a breakfast, you might want to skip it. You might just want to have a hot glass of water with some spices in it, and really give that morning time for you to digest really give yourself that morning time to digest your food, right? That's one of the other tips. In terms of sugar, right? Because there's a lot of sugar intake. The one simple idea I can give you is, don't say no to sugar, but have it every alternate day. So instead of saying I'm going to have this every day, save your dessert, save like the candy that you get, or save for me it's candy, I still eat candy. Save it for the day after. And the reason why I say that is, if you are used to eating sugar every day, when your body doesn't even get that 24 hours of the sugar reset, it'll crave sugar. So the more sugar you eat, the more sugar you crave. But if you give your body a 24-hour reset and your body comes back to its natural glucose levels, you will not have the same craving the day after. But if you eat sugar every day, you will crave sugar every day, and you will crave it even in higher quantities, and you'll eat a lot more. So my trick for that is, every other day you have sugar, you'll eat much less. Also get exercise, right? It's very tempting to be like, oh, it's a busy period, I'm not going to get exercise for the next many days. But I'll say, go and get, even if it's 10 minutes, even if it's 15 minutes, even if you go for a walk in the evening, like, make a commitment to yourself to do something. Do not break the discipline. Even if it's 10 minutes, like I said, right? But because otherwise it's very tempting. You may start right now in October and go all the way till December and New Year's, and then make all these crazy resolutions. I'd say start them now. That's the last thing is, after 2 nights of staying up really late, the third night you want to sleep. Your body can take up to maximum 2 nights, depending on how you're doing, of staying up. The third night for most people is really when your immunity goes down. And you may wake up being like, I'm not sleepy, but your immunity is really struggling. Your body has not gotten the rest and repair that it gets when you go to sleep. So the third night, go for a massage, catch up. For me, even if I have one late night, which I do, I go for a massage. Like, I just go for a massage and I restore my body. So those are my simple tips. Please, you can ask me questions regarding the tips, regarding anything else, whatever you guys want to. Hi, Shetty. Hi, Sheta. Okay. Yeah, basically, right? Now let us talk about the post for this week. And I did a post on rice, and I said not all rice is made same. And that's something we really need to understand, is that rice is traditionally eaten as rice is traditionally a very, very good grain, right? So because rice is cooling and moist, and those are both the qualities that really supplement life force. It is the quality of life, right? So the quality of life in Ayurveda is cooling and moist. Like, of course, your body is a warm, moist place, but when you want to build cell tissue, it can't be too hot, right? It's like this moist, supple place where life is growing, like the spring. And for that you need those kinds of foods, right? We do spice them up for the metabolism aspects of it. So the rice that you're supposed to eat is short grain aged rice. The reason why you age rice is because rice has a lot of water content in it. If you eat rice without aging, thank you, Dr. Ahmed. Massages, I mean, Abhyanga, whatever, spa massages, whatever you can get. So if you don't age your rice, right, and you eat your rice, it's going to leave your stomach very slimy and humid and invite parasites. So if you buy it from an Indian grocery store, you buy it in jute bags, you buy traditional rice, it's usually aged. It's kept in silos in a dark place for the water content to naturally dry. No brown rice. You want to do white rice. Brown rice takes the husk, is very hard to break down. Yes, in a laboratory, it measures much better in its food, in its nutrient intake, but you can't really use those nutrients. You can't break them down. Your body, it cannot disintegrate those nutrients. So you have to get white rice. That's how Ayurveda says. Of course, not basmati. Basmati is not Ayurvedic. It's Sona Masiri or Amba Moor. So this was just a discussion from my post. Now that brings us to the third segment of the week. And we're going to read all of this, right? So we're actually going to go to the third segment of the week. And the third segment of the week is, what did I learn this week? And it's a learning that I've been carrying forward. Actually, you know what? I'll tell you what I learned this week. There's a couple of things I want to talk about. But one is something that I've been carrying for the last many I'll explain that. What's that? Mehdi Ahmed actually didn't say almond milk. I said almonds with my milk, but I'll tell you. So, anyways, I'm gonna talk about something which has really, which I've really been working on for the last few years, actually, and more in the recent months. And then I'll give you my what I learned this week. And what I've learned is that, behind every trigger there is a truth, right? So there are things in the world that trigger us. And our tendency is to stay away from those triggers. And that's fine. We want to stay away from things that trigger us. But the real question is, every time you're getting triggered, there is something, right? You and I may have the same experience, but we may not. You may feel triggered, I may not. I may feel triggered, you may not. So why do we feel triggered for certain situations and others don't? And behind that trigger is a truth to our habit patterns, our tendencies, our psyche. And when we're able to really tune into the trigger, right? Say, hey, for example, I feel very triggered when people are rigid. And my tendency is just like, oh my God, they're so rigid, right? So I've been working to say, this feels like a big trigger to me. Why? If I just sit with this feeling and I become curious about why is this so triggering to me, I kind of come up with a truth about myself. And thank you, Shanti Full Soul. And the truth that I was able to discover about myself is this rigidity is because somewhere I actually held myself very harsh. And some things in childhood that were said to me, which made me feel like, oh my God. So it was my own battle between idealism and liberalism, which I still have at a subconscious level. And that's why when I see somebody else so idealistic, it affects me, right? So I'm just giving you an example of this journey that thank you, Rija, behind every trigger, there is a truth. When you examine the trigger silently, you will know the truth. Once we know the truth, the trigger doesn't feel as strong and we are cleaner. We can imagine when we feel triggered, we can't make decisions, right? Because people feel triggered. Oh my God, I'm getting late. Let's make the decision. Oh my God, this color, it's a trigger for me. Or, this outfit is like that. Even if a simple shopping decision can't be made when we are with triggers, nothing, your view is clouded. The only way is to examine the triggers, to open them up and to let them go, right? The other thing that I've been doing this week that I think is, and I was working with a client of mine, and this is what I realized, right? We are not in touch with our feelings. We think we are, right? But we only have a vague sense of them. But I'm like, at every point in the day, to ask myself, I feel. How do I feel? Oh, I'm feeling, when you tune in, you're like, oh, wow, I'm feeling a little overwhelmed. I'm feeling a little anxious. And then what do I need? What do I need from myself? What do I need to happen outside? So I've been doing this week, where I've been asking myself periodically, I feel like this and I need this. And what the need doesn't mean somebody else is supposed to provide it to me. It's like what I need to either do in the moment, or I need to hold myself in the moment, right? Like, oh, for example, I feel overwhelmed with the amount of work I have to do. I need to take a deep breath and sort things out. So this I feel I need takes a few seconds, but I think it's going to be something big that that's going to really work for me. Now I'm going to talk about the third segment, which is, we discussed the post for the week. The third segment is the Q&A. So this brings us to the Q&A, and let's see what we've got. Today, while watching your talk with Dr. Nikita Kholi, you mentioned taking almond milk in the morning so that you follow some time or routine after heavy dinner. No, so after heavy dinner, I will just take hot water with dry ginger, with sunthi, and that's it. Right after a really heavy dinner, I will go easy. But in a normal morning, I take hot milk with cardamom and almonds soaked in peels. Almond milk, as you know, Vedya, is not milk. It's an almond beverage. Milk has to, unfortunately, come from an animal source. And that's only what is milk in Ayurveda. That's what's recognized as milk, because the properties, the gunas, come from that animal. Back 2,000 years ago, there was no factory. So it was not in a polished manner, but it was dehusked rice. It was not brown rice. It was a hand polished kind of, and not really polished, right? Polish is like adding a version to it, but it's like a dehusked. It's a raw rural rice. And red rice is fine too, but the brown rice, the way it exists today, is really not the rice. The other thing I say is, see how long it takes to make is how long it will take to break. So the rice takes so long to make, it will take that long to break in your own system, and you don't want that. What to do when you feel stuck and dissatisfied by life, when you feel stuck, I think that's how I feel. Is you go in and you look at that place physically, the sensation of being stuck. And I think if you stay with it and you try to name it, you try to observe it, you try to remember when else you felt like this, you become curious about feeling stuck. And then you I want to share a story with you all, actually. I don't know if anybody knows Dr. Brian Weiss. He wrote a book called Many Lives, Many Masters. And what happened, he was a famous psychotherapist. And in one of his sessions, he was just not getting any results with one of his patients. Like nothing was happening. So he said, okay, let me try hypnosis. He really didn't believe in hypnosis and all, but he said, let me just try and giving you auto suggestions. Maybe it's something in your childhood. Let's go back to that. So let's do hypnosis. In the hypnosis, the person went to another lifetime. Okay. So the person just kind of, and this doctor didn't believe in any lifetimes, but it so happened that the person reached another lifetime, and this is all in the US, right? I forgot where he is. And he went in another lifetime, and then he was like, he had his situations, he had some life issue, and there was a trigger which had led into this life, him becoming an alcoholic or something. And they were able to resolve the trigger in that lifetime. Now, when this person came out of his hypnosis session, he was completely cured. And the doctor was like, oh, wow, I've hit upon something. So then he's gone on to write a book, and I went for his 7-day workshop. And when I went for his 7-day workshop with him directly, I saw some crazy stuff happening there, right? Like people who were super claustrophobic when they walked in, and when they could go back into their past or another lifetime where this trigger actually began, and they healed themselves from that, they came back completely fine. I mean, one of the first exercises that he did was completely crazy. I don't know if anybody wants to hear, I'll tell you, but I was just like, it showed you the power of your mind from a raw piece. Like you were just raw, you were going in, no work, but he did an exercise where each person realized the power of their own mind. Anyways, long story short, for me, what happened is when I went back, there was a constant feeling of being frustrated and lost in this lifetime, right? Even though I'm doing everything, I'm existing, I have family, I'm happy outside, but there was like some underlying stuck feeling. And it was crazy because when I went back to another lifetime, I had the same feeling. Like I didn't know the answers. I didn't know anything. And it was so funny. I put my hand up to ask him another question. And in his answer, he said to me, he says, you have to look at things without getting frustrated and lost. Like, so somehow he read my mind. Long story short, right, when I did some of this work and I was able to undo, right, really stay with that frustration and lost and set that pure intention of curiosity, what is it that I need to see to feel unstuck? Things started coming up, things about myself, things about my environment. My only intention was like, what do I need to see? And what do I need to do? And I still pray for this. I said, show me whatever I need to see to progress in my life. And give me the courage to do everything that I need to do to be where I want to be in life. And I think, Aarti, it sounds very cheesy, but stay with the feeling, stay with the stuck, become curious about it. Instead of action, bring curiosity. When the curiosity will give you answers, you will know the action. You're welcome, Richa. It's my pleasure. Aarti, we cannot how do you disconnect yourselves with what happens with the body and stay firm into the soul? I actually don't think we can fully do that. That is the journey of the human body, right? Where you're constantly looking at the world outside from the world within. And the only way you start doing that, and you'll never have a full disconnection, but is by becoming so familiar, right? We're all living in the world outside. We're all engaged in this world of matter. But the more we live in the world inside, the more we understand, just how the weather changes, sun will come out, you'll notice it. It'll rain, you'll notice it, and you'll prepare for it. Similarly, when we start noticing the world inside and the seasons of the world inside, and the more meditative, more introspective, more self-aware work we do, and we start seeing the world inside, and we become familiar, that's where we exist. That's the realm we're existing in. And from that place, we're visiting the world. Right now, we're visiting the world from this external sensory place. And I know whenever I've been able to be present in the world from that place within, it's just magic. Everything becomes so witnessing. Can you post more on emotional? I know I've gone a lot into the body aspects. I really do thrive on the emotional and mental aspects. And I will do definitely much more on that, Aarti. I will do much more on that. If there's any specific questions, bring them up. But I will tell you that it's all a journey about realizing the inner world, the seasons inside, checking the weather inside as we check the weather outside. Here in the US, we're checking weather all the time because it changes every 3 hours. But we got to constantly check for the weather change inside and prepare for that. And the more we prepare for that weather change, I'm getting overwhelmed now. I should be doing this. I'm getting anxious now. And that's it. And then it's a flow. And then also, I personally invite struggles, right? So life, it's really great, but I invite let me see what I need to see, even if it's difficult for me. Give me the courage. And then when I'm able to, firstly, it doesn't feel so hard. And when I'm able to, at the other side, on the other side of this discovery, on the other side of this struggle is a discovery. And it's always profound, and it prepares me to live life even better. Dr. Brian Weiss, Weiss. Read his book. Oh, thank you, Pooja Munshi. Consuming milk in the morning, kapha kala, won't be impacting the gut or aggravates the kapha like the fruit juice as it is heavy. Fruit juice is also Shita Sparsha, right? Dr. Vedya Ahmed. It's cold to touch, and it's sour as well. It's amla. And all of that, right, is so kafakar. But when you have dugdha and you have akshirapaka, or you have milk with spices cooked well, it will, of course, unless you really have kapha prakop, big kapha aggravation, I think it doesn't. And especially if you've done yoga, your nadis are open up, your body is warmed, and you have milk, the milk goes directly into all your channels, into your sukshma nadis as well, and really nourishes that. Hypnosis is good for everything, Nili. Hypnosis is brilliant. for everything. It's just kind of going back into a state where your neuroplasticity, the ability to wire your brain, is tremendous. And any suggestion in that, it's like, when you have clay and you've made a house out of it, now you've made it clay again. And now you can make anything out of it. So you become really neuroplastic in your brain through hypnosis in that state. And any suggestion now gets wired into your brain. I myself have practiced, by the way, hypnosis, on tapes I've done it. So ideally, right, it was asana pranayam. Asana's first, pranayam next. Which means exercise first, then pranayam, but it doesn't matter. It does matter a little bit. Please suggest some natural lip moisturizer. Shata Dhauta Ghruta is my favorite as any type of moisturizer. I'm so glad Brown Skin Magical. The book is Many Lives, Many Masters. Thank you, Sony Pal. Do you suggest your routine to counter dry skin in the winter season? Which routine, Vedya? How to deal with toxic person if one can't avoid living with it? How to deal triggered situations? I think even the toxic person is there to teach us something about our life. But I'm not saying you get into toxic situations. I think with toxic people, it is very important to disentangle. And one thing I've learned is if we are not learning to disentangle, it blows up in our face, right? Let's say I'll run away from one person, I'll run away from 3 people, I'll run away from 50 people. It'll come in my children. It'll come so close. Anything I'm supposed to face, I will. Doesn't mean I get entangled with the toxicity. You learn to navigate through it. Believe me, even if the person is a core part of your life, the minute we learn to deal with toxicity, somehow the person will shed off. Unfortunately, people move, people die, everything happens. But the toxic person is only there to teach us something that we need to learn about navigation. I absolutely do not engage. When I have a choice, I do not hang out with anybody who I feel is toxic. Even though I try and examine what makes this so toxic. How does this make me feel? Without that, you can't just run away. You need to first examine, how does this make you feel? Is this a trigger for a certain reason? And then when a person is truly toxic consistently over a period of time, and you've seen that in other relationships with this person as well, I just I don't entangle. People can be toxic, be mean, say things, be upset. Their business, completely not my business. I'm not going to make your business my business. And what I do will define who I am. What you do defines who you are. So if you do something toxic, if I respond to that, I still don't want to change the definition of me. So one thing I really hold by is whatever I do in my life defines who I am. If somebody does something wrong with me, it's their problem. It defines them. I am going to be very disciplined about who I am. Oh, you read it, Cassie, right? I love the struggles to the evolutionary. So true. Where do we find a hypnotist? I know you guys are going to think I'm so crazy. Set an intention. Ask few people. Just be ready, right? So when you set an intention, it's not here. The intention's here. Just imagine yourself being willing imagine myself in blank space, as though I'm in space. And I just feel the energy around my heart. And I say, and I am ready for this experience. And then I imagine the experience. It always works 10 out of 10 times. And then ask a few people. You'll automatically just be you'll be guided to ask the right people, and answers will come to you. I always feel guided to ask the right people, and sometimes I don't even have to ask. Somebody will come up, an ad will pop up on my thing, or somebody will call me and say, hey, this happened, I would like you to meet this person. So do that. You'll know who to ask. Nili, you'll know who to ask. You can find hypnotists online, but unless you're really ready from within, which you might be, and set that intention, you won't find the right person. Uneven skin tone and dark chin around the mouth. Any remedies, please? Yeah, it's probably Vata or Shukra imbalance. Try Shata Dhauta Ghruta, but you also want to make sure there's no dryness inside. Eat more white things, drink less caffeine, have more coconut, more almonds, and use Shata Dhauta Ghruta. Good breakfast options for days when digestion is weak. Mix water and milk with a good amount of dried ginger and have that. Just hot water. And what does weak digestion actually mean? Tell me that as well. But you want to have, even having a little oatmeal or a little bit of dalia, or something with water chestnut flour and black pepper. Milk, especially almonds and dates, are heavy to digest. Suggested. No, it's not suggested to have after sunset. But what happens if you're hungry for a snack? Instead of having something very voluminous, the whole goal is you have something small, chew it really well, don't have a lot, like maybe 2 almonds or 2 dates. So it sits in your stomach, if you're really hungry, and it's heavy and nice, but it's not bulky. What do you think about the milk we buy from the groceries? I've thought a lot about the milk. For a while I was getting farm fresh milk. Given up that lifestyle because it's just too tedious. I drink the organic milk from the grocery, and I say a little prayer. Of course I do health food stores. Best ways to boost immunity for kids. It's a very large question, but I say don't give them anything cold. Make sure they're sleeping well and getting oil massages. So you believe in self-created reality, like manifesting and such stuff. Listen, I would not even call it manifesting, right? I mean, I find it super cheesy to call it manifesting. But the truth is, like, you have to experience, once you experience this, right, Aarti, there's no way you don't know what it is that we are meant to be in a state of flow, and there is a place within, right, which is free from triggers. It's like this feeling of being in trance, connected to the universe, and anything you're thinking and experiencing in that state. You don't actually think things don't have to happen for you to experience them. So let's say I'm experiencing writing a book and how that feels, and I experience it in that state of purity and cleanliness. Now it's only a matter of time that it's going to happen in my life, right? I've already experienced it. I've experienced it from a pure place repeatedly. I have experienced the emotions that are going to, guys, like, I didn't know all this manifesting rubbish, right? I mean, I'm not going to call it rubbish, but I didn't know this. But when I was pregnant with my first one about 14 years ago, I used to go for a yoga class. Now in this 2 hours, my teacher used to make me only do 10 asanas, but I had to hold each asana for a very long time. And like sometimes like literally 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 minutes in certain asana. And when I was doing that, I said, okay, you know what, let me just breathe in, breathe out, set intentions for the child, and really do that. And that's when I learned to go into a trance. That's when I learned this whole meditative process. Like crazy things happened at that point. But what also happened then is, because I was in that position every day, 5 days a week in the last trimester, I started imagining how my pregnancy day would look like, my delivery would look like. Oh, at 5:30 this will happen. My water will burst, and I'll go, then I'll be in my room, and this is my daughter. And I just felt it. I felt that whole moment like it was real. I didn't plan on anything, right? But I felt it day after day after day after day. Imagine Suhani's face, and I felt it like it was so real. And you know what? Guess what happened? Luckily, I had said this to my aunt and my sister, and I had said, look, this is what I have imagined. It was to the T. Everything that I had already experienced in that realm happened in this realm. And that's what manifesting is, without meaning to or not meaning to. When you have done it enough, and you automatically will also start doing things in that direction. You'll be taking action in that direction, but it happens. Crazy things happen, and it happens 10 out of 10 times. Can milk with ghee on a daily basis if you're exercising? I'm going to take another question because my girls and my friends are waiting for lunch. Moisturizer for children of age 12. Again, if they're willing to do Shatadhata Ghruta, you use Shatadhata Ghruta. My girls are just trying to buy an organic moisturizer, but what we also do is Kailash Jeevan. They do a pure aloe vera gel. It's not a moisturizer, but these are the things that they use. But what I really like is Shatadhata Ghruta. It smells, so my kids are like, oh mom, it smells so bad. So put a drop or two of it, of good essential aromatherapy oil. Water chestnut flower is not drying in nature, no. Malva nut. Send me a link for Malva nut. If you can get A2 organic milk, it's the best, guys, I know. Brand for Shatadhata Ghruta, my brand is, it says in Hindi text in Devanagari, original United something. It says, I don't know what it is. I try and post a picture, but it says it in Hindi. Any ideas for someone sensitive to New York lifestyle and Wi-Fi and indoor life? Listen, we need to talk girls, celery, Nasky, because I'm in New York. And the more I'm living in New York, right now I'm at a friend's place in New Jersey, but I live in New York City. And the more I need to cultivate my inner world, even though I'm out all the time, I do all of that. But to learn to exist in a trance, like trance doesn't mean that you're like a zombie, right? It means that you're in a deeper state while you're functioning in your normal life. Like, and you know what happens then? You're not overthinking things. You're just, things that do happening. You're doing things. It's just, things are just cool and they're fun. Why you feel anxious after having milk? Maybe milk is not working for your gut right now. Maybe your Agni is... Oh. Okay, I don't know what happened to this. Okay. Let's do a couple of more questions. Books to suggest a little bit Ayurveda. I would really highly suggest my course, Neha. The link is in the bio. Hi, Mike. That's my cousin, Dr. Swati Mutha. She's an amazing dermatologist, even though she and I don't look eye to eye on some things. But we do on many things. Only like health-related stuff. We don't look eye to eye on. Otherwise, everything else, right, Pooh? Any suggestions or medicines for gum pain or things to avoid? Yeah, for gum pain, I would suggest Gokshuradi Gugul. I would suggest Chandra Prabha. And you just do a rinse with turmeric and salt water. My hair, skin and diet course is also there. It's also on the link in the bio. What do I recommend for parasite cleaning? It's a whole process, guys. It's a whole process. Okay, guys, I think my gang is ready and I'm going to take the girls. We're going to go and eat ramen. We're going with their friends. And that's what we're doing. And the girls love ramen. I love ramen too. I usually stay away from that. Right now I can't eat refined flour, so I'm going to do more the broth and the edamame. I've done a lot of sessions on menopause. Lord, it will be saved as every session is. Alright. Hi, Sanju! Alright, guys. I shall see you. This is milk egg, a good combination. Milk egg too heavy, too heavy.